Zack Snyder's directorial debut, being the 2004 remake of George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, is often considered to be a zombie classic in its own right. And I can personally remember the first time I viewed this film when I was just a mere child. My initial understanding of zombies was that they were slow and boring. Then I saw this movie and they were running fast as fuck. My dad even joked that the movie should have been titled Dawn of the Athletic Dead. Suffice it to say, the opening of this film traumatized me for a few nights. Lil Private Gold was shitting little gold nuggets, if you know what I mean. Be that as it may, one of the standout performances in this film was Michael Kelly's CJ. That's right, Doug Stamper was CJ in this alternate early 2000s apocalyptic timeline. Our boy CJ was the head of mall security, and he started off the story as your prototypical asshole. But then he went on to be a fan favorite when he morphed into a selfless action hero, who sacrificed himself for the greater good of his mall family. Unfortunately for good old CJ, his sacrifice was indeed in vain, as the survivors likely all died at the end of the credits. Setting that mood killer to the side, I want to talk about whether or not CJ was right when he was being the archetypal dickhead survivalist at the beginning of the movie.
Damn store.
What are we gonna do about that truck?
We're not gonna do anything about that truck.
There's people in it.
Yeah, if we start letting people in here, and we're gonna let the wrong ones in, and then I'm dead. And you know what? I don't want to die. Nobody here is sick, and I intend on keeping it that way.
Look, I just think we should...
At first glance, it appears that CJ was right. The crew could have survived at the mall for a very long time, and the very people from the truck who were let in snuck 2 infected persons into the mall. This ultimately could have been the end for everyone. But here's the thing. Despite what some YouTubers will tell you, and despite what you may believe, because you've likely played too much Zomboid or other fun but rather unrealistic zombie games, the mall was not a location that could sustain the Milwaukee crew indefinitely. This is something I covered in an older video, which you're welcome to check out on my channel. But to summarize that video here, the crew lacked the human capital to actually turn the mall into a permanent settlement or camp. No one knew how to maintain, let alone fix, the backup generators, which were never designed to operate indefinitely for months. The mall's food would eventually run out, nor are mall cafeterias stocked with tons of non-perishable foods. Not a single member of the team knew how to farm, not to mention that Milwaukee can get insanely cold in the winter, easily killing crops. Also remember that there wasn't a farming goods store in the mall. Some of you believe that these undead freaks could freeze because in your tiny brains every zombie behaves like those on The Walking Dead or in Max Brooks' World War Z. We literally don't know if they can freeze, and it's not too uncommon to see zombies in films that are immune to climate. Some of you felt the dead would decompose eventually, yet these fuckers were running like fresh athletes after 1 month. And yes, we know the movie takes place over a month due to Andy's lost tapes, which was part of the bonus content on the DVD. That said, we know that the Walking Dead zombies decompose, but they do so slowly. In fact, so slowly that they're around for fucking years. And the same happens with the World War Z zombies. So, to keep things simple, the crew cannot survive long-term at the mall. They can, however, last quite some time at that location. And that matters when it comes to answering this very question. In my video about Negan's ethics as the leader of the Saviors, I lit the man on fire. Savior Negan was just wrong in so many ways that I'd rather not repeat myself here and needlessly inflate the length of this video with a red herring. But Negan was right about one thing. People are a resource, albeit not one you should ever exploit. But nonetheless, people are a resource to cooperate with. And given the lack of human capital at the mall, welcoming survivors who are seeking refuge is a risk that is worth taking. Simply because you might get lucky and get someone who does know how to maintain an industrial generator or someone who is experienced in agriculture. Getting your hands on just one of these experts would fundamentally transform the mall from a glorified doom bunker to a truly sustainable settlement. Furthermore, the crew made a serious mistake by not getting Andy to their location when the zombie population was low enough to conduct such an operation. Andy's skills and his weapons stockpile would have made it possible to risk inviting strangers into their enclave. Furthermore, having more abled bodies at one's disposal is the best defense against the undead. It is just much harder to overrun a group of armed people than it is to overrun 3 mall cops. And if you get any bad apples, you could always lock them into a secure area inside the mall, the very same way they did with Nicole's dad. Last but not least is the fact that killing strangers or turning them away isn't necessary precisely because the mall has a shit ton of food and water. Even though the mall would eventually run out of food, its supply would last a considerable amount of time, even when you add a few more mouths to feed. And that time, if utilized appropriately with the right human capital, could pay some seriously massive dividends. Not to mention that it's just immoral as fuck to kill or turn survivors away when it doesn't really hurt you to bring them in. All things being considered, CJ was dead wrong, and it's a shame that his crew was just too stupid to survive in the long run. Anyways, if you enjoy this sort of content, please like, share, and fucking subscribe. Also remember that you may opine anytime if you feel so inclined, down in the comments section. I'm Captain Gold and I hope to see you in my next Gold Standard video.